going to be PXG taking this first
Sita
step.
is your second team to qualify.
Secure their spot in the
Looking like
qualifying
it's the
He'll be
qualification,
taking on the
just
Splat
like
World
that.
Series again.
Crickets is looking at qualification.
Welcome in, everyone, to Global Gauntlet Rewound, where we take a look at matches from Global Gauntlet number 2 here and see the ones that were not able to be featured on stream. My name is Shiny Hunter Zach, and with me today to cast over our match is TRF. First of all, TRF, how are you doing today, and are you excited for our match?
I am absolutely pumped. You know, it's been a while since I've been able to jump on the cast, especially for something as epic as Global Gauntlet. So I'm so excited to take a look at the two teams we are rewinding today.
Well, you can see them down at the bottom of your screen. It's Crickets versus King of Ham, and we're going to take a look at Crickets first. A little bit of housekeeping at the start here. Kiki going to be replaced in this first round match by Thunder on a similar weapon, the blaster class of weapons. But TRF, this is one of the better teams that the West has to offer.
Yeah, it certainly is. You know, you've got a lot of those household names jumping into this one. Like you said, there is that bit of a swap there with Kiki for Thunder. So we'll be able to kind of see, you know, how this team kind of fared with that slight roster adjustment.
And facing them from the east is going to be King of Ham. This is a team that struggled in Area Cup Crown 3, going 0-2 in that placement. Toto, Inaten, Sohu, and Tanaha. But one of the more interesting compositions that we might see, notably, no cooler weapons present among their main weapons, and TRF maybe even up to 3 big bubblers at one time.
Hey, it's a bubble party. The more bubbles, the merrier. And, you know, as we've been kind of clued into here as well, you know, it's going to be a little bit of a mix and match as well. So, you know, be ready to see what King of Ham has and how they might be able to play some of the weapons that their teammates are maybe better known for.
Well, we're ready to get into game 1 shortly here. The stage that's been selected is Manta Maria. This one known as being a very linear stage, a very long stage to traverse across. That's why a lot of times beacons are present. The big bubblers with that beacon right in the middle of them might be very helpful to get your team back into the action and in a protected state. And surprisingly, a decent amount of flanks considering the size. It feels like with things like grates and different high grounds, lots of different weapons DRF can excel here.
A lot really can excel, especially with the amount of ledges that are present, as you had mentioned there. You know, that's where we tend to see a lot of the blasters and sloshers start to thrive. But overlooking the 2 zones, you know, that's where things start to get a little bit precarious, as it can be pretty difficult to break through and try to claim the zone, especially following a wipeout.
Well, let's get into game 1 here. Of course, we're going to be on splat zones the entire way through. And one of the first things I'm noticing is a double splatling composition in addition to Tanaha's splat Brella. That part in itself is not a surprise. On the opposite side of things, Mino going to be on the slosher. Silver with that Splatana stamper, which has kind of been in the meta for quite a while. It's seen its ups and downs as we see Thunder trying to take this high ground here, and now Sofu stealing that away from them, as it looks like Crickets is going to gain control or lose control early due to King of Ham.
Yeah, it's all King of Ham in this opening 30 seconds, as that was an effective wipeout that we just saw. They're going to have quite a few specials here, but Crickets are going to have an opportunity to retaliate as they pick up quite a few specials of their own. But can they get back to the zone? That is going to be the question, as the Zipcaster tries to make a play, but is not going to find the player that they were looking for. Oh, Zach, it seems like a potential missed opportunity there, but they do get a couple nice picks.
Yeah, Silver, it looked like, wanted to try and break the bunker open, one of the counters that they might be looking for this big bubbler strategy that it seems like King of Ham is very proud of. Thunder getting the pick there onto Toto. And of course, don't think that a blaster is going to be typically your best painting weapon on the board. That's why they expend the triple splashdown. And Sofu has really just been living on these grades here at DRF. They use their exceptional range, only outraged, in fact, by that Snipe Rider, which is able to take them out.
Oh, and a nice play there from Sofu, but they're going to end up going down to Silver, as now Silver looking to prepare to Zipcaster, but is going to just continue to utilize a little bit of that rage, withholding the Zipcaster before finally using it, but gets ultimately shut down. The numbers stay even, but it is King of Ham that retains a little bit of the control, but Thunder on the splashdown, coming down like lightning to try to get Crickets back in this one.
Yeah, it's one of those specials that does such a great job. Even if you're taken out or traded in the middle of it, the radius of it is so large that you're often able to get at least one, as we see Silver flying around yet again with the Zipcaster. Runs out once they finally had spotted a target there. It looked like it was Toto that they're able to take out from behind that cover. Now getting 2 picks onto King of Ham, and they really need to find and continue some kind of bunker busting strategy. King of Ham has done a great job of controlling the high ground, and the 2 main suspects, both Splatling players, even the lower range Zigmini Splatling, taken down as Crickets in their best position so far this game.
As now it's Crickets that has been the ones in control here for the last minute or so. A little bit of a scramble out of King of Ham as we close in on under 10 points remaining before Crickets takes the lead. And here we will see the swap. And it's the special economy that's still in Cricket's favor. But of course, as I say that, it's King of Ham that's able to hunt down the 2 special wielders. And they are now fighting to get back control of these zones, but they don't have the numbers to do so, Zach.
Yeah, that's 3 down going against King of Ham here. So the resistance that they face no more, now into single-digit points. Crickets, they struggled to get in the early portion of the game, but they find their footing and will take game 1 here against King of Ham. You know, one of the big questions coming into events like this one was, how is the West going to fare against Japan and the compositions that they like to bring? And it's unusual to go up against a team not leaning on the tactical, for example, but it seems as though a great job done there by Crickets to find the strategy, the areas that King of Ham was favoring, and lock them down either before they got that big bubbler up or before they could advance to either one of the zones.
And here we saw that replay of Thunder that really felt like the tide changer, where it was a tale of 2 halves. The first half was all King of Ham. They were getting all the picks. They were getting behind enemy lines. They were finding everything that they needed to hold Crickets back and consistently coming out of spawn. But once Thunder managed to find that breakthrough, that splashdown with the double, it seemed like everything changed for Crickets. And now they lead this set with a game 1 victory.
Well, we'll look for the counter pick here from King of Ham. It is going to be Museum de Alfonsino. You would think when looking at their composition from game 1, they're going to want a stage where that mobility while running or walking is going to be easy to do. You have some shades of similarity between this and Manta, where you have definitive low ground and high ground and some corners to set up, but definitely not the area that is, you know, used for things like flanking or getting around. We also want to mention there is a strike system with Global Gauntlet, but unfortunately not able to see that come through here today. Should be available for the other Global Gauntlet Rewound games, so we do apologize for that. But Museum de Alfonsino, definitely a standard, but not usually for Splat Zone. So excited to see what weapons they might change up for game number 2.
Let's take a look here. It seems like Cricket's kind of sticking to their tried and true, but King of Ham coming out with the mostly matching heavy Splatlings. Kind of, you're gonna bring out the different variants, of course, just to keep things spicy. But Zach, I mean, double heavy Splatlings. What on earth could King of Ham be cooking?
Wow, and a wipeout is what Crickets is cooking early. You know, one of those heavy Splatlings much more in the proverbial meta than the other. The heavy Splatling with the Wave Breaker and Sprinkler, it just gets out so much ink at a time. The heavy Splatling deco much more built around finding targets for your team and maybe even tracking them yourself. As we see Toto go down here, this is the polar opposite of game 1, where it's Crickets getting out to a hot start, and King of Ham the one struggling to find their footing. But with the range that those two heavy Splatlings can provide, they might be able to take a lot of ground from the high ground as we see Crickets move past the halfway point.
Yeah, and this is exactly what King of Ham did in the first game, was take this commanding early lead. They were getting all the picks. They were in the enemy base, and now it's Crickets doing the exact same thing. Look at the Zip Caster from behind. It's going to take 2 players to take them down. But now we are down to about 10 points remaining. This is the last-ditch effort here for King of Ham, and they have the numbers to neutralize the zone and secure the flip, so it's not over quite yet as King of Ham keeps kicking.
Yeah, that's a throw everything in the kitchen sink at the problem moment, and it worked out for King of Ham. They did have to use basically everything on board, so they're going to mostly lose the ensuing fight. It's 3v2 effectively. Now 1v1 is it's Sofu trying to win this out against the pencil here from Crickets. Moving forward is the ability to take down some of these penalties, but King of Ham, the resilience that they're showing, much better than the early portion of the game. They get that taste of mid, and you can see how they're spreading apart their heavy Splatling players. They had one posted up on the Charger Overlook and one on the zone. Now they send one a little bit farther forward, allow their 2 shorter range weapons, and then you have 2 super strong backline players to keep the zone painted, as we see Crickets now struggling under that weight.
Yeah, and now we, starting to see just exactly I mean, I feel like we're watching the same game from game 1, but in reverse, because King of Ham now just has so much control here, and they're really forcing Crickets to try to, play around them a little bit more. They're all the way back to the spot. They're getting staggered, and that's the exact reason that King of Ham crumbled in that first game. So now we're hunting for a lead swap here with just 5 points separating them, and Tanaha able to come up with the triple.
Oh, absolutely filthy. A couple of important hero plays back to back, and we see that pendulum swing from one side to the other, as this time it's Crickets getting out to the hot start, but King of Ham locking it down, just barely enough time to get it done, and they secure the tie in this match. And DRF, it felt like Inaten making some of those huge plays that then allowed what you're seeing now, Tanaha on this Splatbrella to move forward and effectively get a triple going into that flow aura state to secure the victory.
Yeah, that was just chef's kiss by Tanaha. Like, being able to, get aggressive, on the backs of their teammates there to push up. And from there, it was just easy pickings. You're close enough to the ledge. My Brella can do a lot more damage than you realize, and it was 1, 2, 3 knockout.
Well, and now we get to see Crickets making their stage selection here as we get in shortly to game number 3. They'll have one of their first opportunities to break up this ideology of stages that the benefit has mainly gone, I think, over to King of Ham, and we see Umami Ruins as the pick. So we're going to a 2-zone stage now. I would argue one of the more popular 2-zone stages. Not that there are many in the game, but it is also not as large of a stage to conquer. Despite that, though, it can be pretty easy to get locked out. So you cannot do what happened in our last couple of games and give a huge amount of stage presence and space to your opponent.
Absolutely, and we've seen King of Ham play with their compositions here, so that's going to be the number one question in mind, is what are they going to do? And it looks like they really liked how that composition worked for them in game number 2, so we're going to be seeing more of the same here from both of these teams in game 3.
Jay taking up the position all the way on that left-hand side box. Usually you see the longer ranged weapons play on that cylinder if they can still have an impact on the zone. Mino trying to get out. They've been marked by the point sensor, likely of that heavy Splatling Deco, which you mentioned returned for game 3 here. Jay trying to break the canopy as well of that Brella. That's such a underrated feature, and one that, because we don't see Brellas that often, does not get talked about as much. That's going to be another pick onto Inaten, as once again, it's Crickets who relented a little bit, but has taken over these zones. The triple splashdown also helping to keep that presence in effect.
And it's Crickets that really control this special economy right here, but it doesn't matter if the whole team gets sent back to spawn. as King of Ham finds their window of opportunity, and they push up fast, and they are ready to cause some damage. Decaf able to find the one pick, but extend just a little bit too far to going down, and that's going to force these last two players to retreat a little bit, especially now that Silver is on that Zipcaster. Does get shut down, but I think accomplished the job of forcing King of Ham to back up and second guess their position.
Yeah, mid on this stage just feels so tiny. It feels like anywhere you go, you're either walking into a trap or you're the one doing the trapping. There's so many obstacles that you have to play around. And then when you get past mid, it actually opens up quite a bit, which is part of why you can lock down your opponents in that spawn area. As we see Toto going down and Thunder sitting on that triple splashdown once again. They may need it to combat the triple ink strikes that are coming out from King of Ham. Thunder desperately trying to stay alive. They'll not only do that, but they'll allow the jump in to come through. All of that, though, in spite of the fact that King of Ham has maintained the zone for this long, they keep their lead, they chip away at this penalty, and I would still say that they're in the power seat for the moment.
They certainly are. Although this game being a lot closer than these previous twos with the back and forth between these two teams right now, as we once again get another trade out. Both teams just trying to be so cautious, trying to play that range game to make sure that they are just close enough to try to deal some damage, but not close enough to get retaliated against and go down. But with this opportunity here, it seemed like King of Ham was going to actually get the upper hand, but it is going to force Inatan to pop this Kraken, and is still able to find two, despite having to kind of play the Kraken in a little bit of a solo game there.
It's the perfect special for that moment. It acts kind of as a panic button. You can wait on the jump ins and get basically a guaranteed splat. It is so perfect as we see a pick there onto Tanaha. They have to get this penalty put onto King of Ham if Crickets wants a chance at this one, and they will. A large 57 penalty with about 2 minutes left to go. They'll lose a couple of members in doing so, and their Stamper, who had their special online, so it continues to be King of Ham locking down mid and only giving flashes where Crickets can get in and stall them out a little bit. Ultimately, that'll lead to kind of this retention or long con game that King of Ham is much more likely to win as we see Crickets starting to regroup.
Both these teams still jostling for some position. Crickets trying to find an opportunity to break through, but with that 1, 2, 3 down, once again, it is King of Ham that is on the cusp of a Game 3 knockout, barring a last-ditch effort here by Crickets, seeing if they could get back in, but it's gonna be too little too late potentially. No, they get the neutralization. Now can they follow this up with a big play? Able to find one of the heavy splatlings there, but jumps are still coming in from King of Ham, holding on for dear life, but it is not enough. A valiant effort from Crickets to try and get back in that one, but King of Ham just a little bit too tough to beat in Game 3.
I mean, what a back and forth, right? And we saw the great efforts of Crickets trying to get in. It's difficult when you're facing a player like Tanaha who can protect themselves with the canopy. You saw that Splatana trying to take them out and just was met with this wall in front of them. And even using things like the Zipcaster, it feels like King of Ham is ready for that high velocity playstyle, and they are much more comfortable, especially with two heavy splatlings in their backline, logging it down, taking that little bit of high ground in between the zones in mid, and seeing exactly where Crickets is going to regroup. We saw them sort of 3 of them playing right against that low wall between the two zones, and they were spotted very easily, especially with that heavy splatling Deco, which we don't get to see too often, having a point sensor and the Kraken to track them down whenever they need to.
Yeah, and that Kraken was such a pivotal opportunity for them to, really push through and kind of solo hold as needed. And I'm curious to see if this is going to be the continued strategy going to Game 4 as Crickets select Inkblot Art Academy for game number 4.
Yeah, you saw the note on there, a large singular zone that can be difficult to cap. You have that art installation in the middle, despite some of the difficulties that Crickets has maintained. Nothing significant changing about their composition. They even retain the custom blaster as opposed to trying to get a big bubbler of their own, for example, as we see the 2 shorter range weapons of King of Ham flanking on the left side, Silver, and the Mentacavitator meeting on the left-hand side. That's the effective battle of The Splatoon is going the way of King of Ham, as does the zone, as they will claim it first.
Yeah, I mean, Toto there just, getting so aggressive and, was able to actually kind of disrupt the early game flow here for Crickets. Gives King of Ham an opportunity to build up this 28-point early lead, but certainly this will not hold as the strikes come in for King of Ham, trying to see they could get some more displacement going, but not able to do that. Lots of trading here, and now it's the backline 1v1 as both frantically try to get control of the zone, and the heavy Splatling doing heavy Splatling things, trying to get a little bit of that paint advantage to hold on for King of Ham.
Yeah, whether by intention or by design, it feels like the Snipe Rider is the weapon that has to take these off angles, as we saw that mid decaf taking a float or a state of their own. Tanaha trying to follow up on that progress, but they're 2 down. They still survive it and take down Mino. Now they're going to have to survive that Zipcaster coming out from Silver, who's already low. They might value their life over anything else. Does, in fact, get the pick onto Tanaha with that last leap, so that will give Crickets, who had given up a significant number of points on the zone, the ability to take that zone back. They don't have a penalty of their own to contend with. The main issue is now they lose their Splatana Stamper, and they'll defend this zone shorthanded.
Yeah, and with these strikes plus the Kraken coming out, it is going to force the rest of Crickets to scatter, as they think there was a bit trying to attempt to jump out there, but the Kraken gonna clean this one up. Silver coming through though, able to kind of clean up a couple of members, and this should be an opportunity now for Crickets to regain control of the zone. But with the consistent scramble that King of Ham is putting Crickets through, they just can't find an opportunity to get their players in the key positions that they need. Thunder finding a good potential look there, but it takes a little bit of extra effort, a little bit of follow-up to get there. And finally, Cricket seems to be in the position they need. They get the flank, and now they can set themselves up how they've been trying to do for the past 2.5 minutes.
Yeah, they just need to create these openings here for players like Thunder, who need to be almost right in the faces of both heavy Splatlings that they're contending with. Last time they had the triple splashdown. They're not going to have it this time, so they will jump out. That will cost them likely the zone, as all players have effectively gone away from the zone. It's mainly just Jay on that Snipe Rider watching things over. They will be the last ones surviving for Cricket. So yes, some progress made, and they'll have another team fight here before King of Ham is able to get rid of their entire penalty. Maybe King of Ham even overextending a little bit, as Sofu is going to go down. Now the Kraken Royale is going to come in as well. Mino, on top of that art installation, not only finds Toto, but finds enough for the triple ink strike as well. That's going to help force the 3-down situation, and Crickets once again back in the driver's seat.
They certainly are, as they were able to, that really was an effective delayed wipe. So, and that's the go button that Crickets needed, because they really have only found the opportunities to get into these key positions once they've had a minimum of 3 down. And now they're executing on this pretty well, although King of Ham again continues to force them to have to scatter a little bit. It seems like this time is a little bit different. They're doing a better job of not getting too far apart, continuing to play just the right distance to where they don't find themselves in 1v2 scenarios.
Getting very close to the final minute mark here. Nobody with specials online, but King of Ham doesn't care as they get 3 down already. Jay forced to scramble back, as it looks likely that King of Ham will take the lead here in the 55-second remaining mark. Toto watching these jump downs, and Tanaha seeing Thunder going for the flank. That's about all you can do with that lower range weapon. That is in fact the lead for King of Ham. It's 2v2 as the trade starting to come out. The Commentator goes down as well. The big bubbler out for King of Ham, and it's going to be desperation time here for Crickets, as they'll lose that fight. A long range to Sofu. Now finally the reinforcements come back, and somehow Crickets is now winning this engagement, bolstered by the fact that we are seeing Silver get that pick on the Zipcaster, and probably Crickets will hold onto the zone and try to set up an overtime.
Oh, and I think Toto just stuck around a little bit too long there, and that could be a bit of a disaster for them, as now the rest of the team trying to find what avenues they have to get back into this zone, and that's going to be pretty minimal when you have 2 members going down. Kraken trying to just get around the zone and paint it as much as possible, but Thunder going to come in with the splashdown, able to find the crucial pick to help Crickets get the lead in overtime, and we are tied up, Zach.
The big bubbler not helping them to survive the triple splashdown of Thunder there at the end, nor is that Kraken Royale going to do enough painting power to get you the zone that you so desperately desire. Game 5, and a fitting way for this one to end between two teams that, as we noted, especially the first couple games, were so back and forth. One team would look like they had entirely all the momentum, and then it would get stolen out from under their feet, only for the other team to end up winning that game later on.
Yeah, and this game just felt so different. I mean, Jay on the side of Crickets going 17-2, just finally able to get a bit of a breakthrough there, and just putting the team on their back. They were not gonna go down without a fight, and we are gonna see our game 5 now.
It's going to be King of Ham's stage selection here, and we're also going to look at Crickets and the way that they, I believe, got 8 coolers in that last game. That was one of our focal points against King of Ham, is what do they do without a cooler in their composition when we know Crickets is likely going to have one with Jay. We saw their ability to get back into it, and it's Wahoo World. That is our final point here in this match. A massive stage that is going to be difficult to get back to. We talked about the tacticaler. That is going to give you a pretty sizable advantage at getting back into the fight.
Yeah, and now the question is, does King of Ham make that composition adjustment again? Because we know Crickets, what they're going to be running. So taking a look here, yes, there is an adjustment, but not in the way that I think I or you anticipated, Zach. We are getting the foil squeezer out.
What is I'm so shocked. Autobomb and splatter color screen going to be the kit here for the foil squeezer. So maybe they believe blocking those sight lines going to give them an advantage. The squeezer, one of the main weapons that the East has piloted even in previous Splatoon games in comparison to the West, as we see them trading out one Inkling or Octoling apiece. King of Ham locking down the zone first. They retain that heavy Splatling and heavy Splatling Deco. The Deco, by the way, from Inaten getting the pick. They're looking for a second, will not find it, but will survive in the interim. And with how large this stage is, you essentially have to take fights away from this admittedly not very large zone in order to try and win a team fight.
Yeah, absolutely. As we are going to see a bit of a flank here. And, try to see what they can do. No, gonna get called out and pinched by the members of King of Ham. But it's gonna be a 2-down situation now for King of Ham. So Cricket's gonna be able to build on this lead that they've just acquired, seeing how far they can take it. Inaten gonna be popping this Kraken, seeing if they can disrupt some of the members here, but realizing they're not gonna find any value. Going to have to back on up, try to play with their fellow heavy Splatling as Thunder watches the underside of this zone. Silver gonna be launching their Zipcaster right into the opposition, is able to help find one and get the assist on the second. So a huge opportunity here for Crickets as they close in on a KO.
Yeah, that feels like the special you really want to have when facing something like a splatter color screen. Is Crickets looking like they're in a great position, but they do lose one. That's going to be their slosher following as we see the triple ink strikes coming out. Crickets in single digits here as King of Ham loses 2 members, but still caps the zone. That is a majorly important cap of the zone without a squid advantage here. That gives a 68-point penalty over to Crickets and buys them at least 1, if not 2 team fights to try and make progress of their own.
Yeah, that's huge right there, Zach. It's going to take a lot of time to work on depleting that penalty. And now King of Ham, like you said, it gives them an opportunity of 1 or 2 team fights, and it seems like King of Ham only needs 1 to be able to start to flip the tides of this game. They find a couple of 2-down situations here, and now we've passed the halfway mark in this game with 3 specials online. It seems like King of Ham can seriously do some damage to this scoreboard.
Well, they're trading out triple ink strikes right now as we see King of Ham as a result retain it. They're going to use the wave breaker far forward here as Silver's going to find a target. That target's not going to be Sofu, who is safe behind in that flow aura state, and Silver in fact going down. It looks like they needed picks there. Inaten going to join Sofu with that flow aura state, just essentially sitting in one spot, challenging the members of Cricket, saying, come here if you dare. We are going to take your lead right out from under you. The triple splashdown not going to land on the zone. Thunder not able to get in time. They have stopped it just barely. Can they paint enough? And yes, they will lose the lead, but Crickets will get that zone back and give themselves a shot at redemption.
And a very similar situation now, like you said earlier, Zach. It buys 1 or 2 more team fights to get back into this, and Crickets is definitely going to need that as they once again find themselves 2 down, possibly a third. Thunder. Oh, Thunder gonna get shut down by the nasty fall off there. And it looks like King of Ham is setting up for a lockout position.
Yeah, Inaten has just been the guardian of this small entryway. Thunder hasn't been able to get in, had to use the triple splashdown early. They were trying to camp the drop down. In fact, 2 members of Crickets trying to camp the drop down and were not able to survive. Tanaha sharking around, not even needing to expend the triple ink strike now, as we see Jay trying to move in. Silver trying to find anybody that they can take out. The block from that canopy on the Brella not going to give them anything as well. Inaten getting 2 there, and the zone will temporarily flip back over, adding to that penalty, but time with 30 seconds remaining still not on the side of Crickets.
Oh my goodness, 30 seconds to play, and King of Ham still in control here. Thunder gonna jump out, realizing that they were gonna walk into a bit of a trap there, but it is still gonna be a trade, and these trades continue to favor King of Ham, but finally a 3-down situation is able to get Crickets at least back in position, get control of the zone, and they're gonna have one opportunity to try and ride this all the way to a lead swap. But we have to be really careful about this triple ink strike that is coming in to try and seal the deal.
And it does instantly with a zone this size. That's all it takes. 3 well-placed shots of that triple ink strike is going to cement a King of Ham victory in this game 5 and in the match 3-2 over Crickets. And what a fitting way for this one to end. It was a similar story in the early portion of the games from this match. You'd have one team with a pretty sizable lead, the other team would steal it away, and that's how the game would end. Really a great back and forth between these two teams that ran some interesting strategies, especially King of Ham with that heavy splatling deco and the foil squeezer at the very end.
Yeah, I mean, the twin heavy splatlings that came out here, yes, the different kits, that's so unique, so fascinating to see how they played off of each other so well. I think they did such a good job of just making it feel like a true double backline, but you never really saw them too close to each other or anything like that. You just always felt the presence of wherever I go, there is a backline watching me and I am in imminent danger.
Well, that's going to do it. King of Ham going to win their round 1 match against Crickets 3-2. This was from, of course, Global Gauntlet 2, and we hope you enjoyed this edition of Global Gauntlet Rewound. Please be sure to check out the other matches that we have available for you. Thank you so much to my co-caster DRF and to Ellie on the Spec Cam and production. And until next time, we will see you later.